On this week's episode of Ride the Lightning, the Tesla unofficial podcast, Tesla's beautiful Quicksilver paint is now available on the Model 3 in North America. Plus, Tesla experiments with a new software bundle option on Model S and Model X. Faster supercharging has arrived for the Cybertruck, and more. What's happening, friends? Ryan McCaffrey here alongside Daisy the Boxer to my left and Mina the Future Service Dog Puppy to my right. Welcome to Ride the Lightning. It is your weekly Tesla unofficial podcast. This is episode 471 for August 11th, 2024. Well, how about some good news to kick things off? As I very much expected, after Giga Shanghai began offering the new Model 3 in the new Quicksilver paint, or at least relatively new, debuted at Giga Berlin, a couple years ago now, but still one of the newer paint colors in the Tesla arsenal, the Fremont factory has now followed suit, and thus, Quicksilver is now available on any trim of the Model 3 here in North America. It costs $2,000, which is the same price as Ultra Red is on the 3 Fresh. So, this means that the aging Fremont factory, the one that Tesla has expanded as far as they can expand and upgraded as much as they can, they have figured out how to do Quicksilver in Fremont, which is awesome, by the way, because Tesla, as you may recall, had originally said that it was only possible for Quicksilver to be done at its advanced paint shop at Giga Berlin. So I love that it's been cracked, the code has been cracked, and it's available in North America. Now, personally, I don't think anything, you all know me well enough by now, I don't think anything could get me to choose something besides Ultra Red on any of the Teslas at this point. Obviously, aside from the Cybertruck, which doesn't have paint on it, but Quicksilver on the new Model 3, I think, is going to look gorgeous. In fact, I saw a couple of Quicksilver Model Ys while I was driving around doing various errands today, including an unexpected trip to the vet again with poor little Mina. Her UTI has seemingly returned, so they were able to see us today, and it's been a little bit of a bumpy start just in terms of medically, because, well, forget it. She's such a great dog. I just need this little period of roughness to smooth out, and she is going to be an absolutely amazing puppy. Anyway, where was I? Quicksilver. I saw a couple of Quicksilvers on the road today, and boy, in the sun, I really do think they look fantastic, and so I think the Model 3 is going to look absolutely terrific in this color. In fact, up until this announcement this week, one of the Tesla unicorns, as I like to call them, and by a Tesla unicorn, I mean a rare Tesla configuration, like, say, a Signature Red Model S or a Signature Red Model X, where there's only a few hundred of each of those. Out of all the, 6 million Teslas? There's only a few hundred Signature Red S's and Signature Red X's. Anyway, one of the Tesla unicorns was the silver metallic Model 3 Performance. So the original Model 3 Performance debuted in late July of 2018. I have one of the first ones delivered July 29th of 2018. And silver metallic paint was discontinued in September of 2018. So it really was not, that combination was not available for very long. And when you combine that with the fact that the Model 3 Performance wasn't nearly ordered as often as the other two variants in that window, which were the long-range rear-wheel drive and the long-range dual-motor all-wheel drive, there are not that many silver performance Model 3s out there at all from 2018. That is until these new ones start delivering. And now we'll have proper silver performance Model 3s on the road again for the first time in exactly 6 years, or at least the first time coming out of the factory for the first time in 6 years. Now, a friendly reminder, if this is sounding good to you, if you're thinking, you know what, yes, I would love not just a Quicksilver Model 3, but a Quicksilver Performance Model 3, friendly reminder that at least for the time being, you can get this color, Quicksilver, and still get the tax credit on a Performance Model 3 if you add FSD to the order. I, for one, cannot wait to see the Quicksilver Performance 3 in real life. Because the renders on the website are nice, but they're renders. It's clearly, as we all know, it's not the same as seeing it in real life, in real lighting, in 3D space. Can't wait to see this thing. So glad that the Model 3 now has an additional paint color for people to choose from. More good news to start this podcast. Faster charging. Well, it's not really that it's coming for the Cybertruck. It's that it's arrived, though there is a catch. So after the Tesla influencer Teslatino, who, by the way, super nice guy, known him for a while. In fact, I got to see him this week. He was in San Francisco as he's been driving his Cybertruck literally all over North America. He was in San Francisco and was able to get together, say hello to him. Anyway, Teslatino, on his travels in his Cybertruck here in the greater San Francisco Bay Area, posted a photo of his Cybertruck's charging rate, and he posted that on X. And when he posted that, the Tesla community took notice, because he didn't cap out at 250 kilowatts on the supercharger, or even, like, I've seen 251, 252, even 253 on my car. Like the rest of us, that's what we're capped at. No. His Cybertruck peaked at 323 kilowatts, and this was from an 18% state of charge, so not even that crazy low. This post got the attention of Cybertruck's lead engineer at Tesla, Wes Morrill, or Morrill. I gotta figure out somebody's gotta let me know. Wes, how do I properly pronounce your last name? Anyway, Wes, who I've cited here on the podcast before, confirmed on X what our eyes were telling us with that picture, and that is that the Cybertruck can go well past 250 kilowatts. Granted, this has been announced before. We knew that the Cybertruck could do it, but this was the first time we were actually seeing it in action. However, it's not rolled out everywhere yet. In fact, not by a long shot. Really, it's the opposite for right now. There are just a few spots where a Cybertruck can do more than 250 kilowatts at a time out of the fire hose that is a supercharger. So Wes posted, quote, "We're running a trial on a few different V3 Plus stations," meaning V3 cabinet in a V4 charging post. He says, "This is not a bug, but it's also not rolled out to all hardware-capable stations. I guess since Teslatino has visited 97% of all North American supercharger locations, he was bound to find one." And I think he was only half kidding on that, because Teslatino has visited a whole lot of superchargers in that Cybertruck. So yes, Teslatino was at a V4 cabinet, and it was, as I mentioned, right here in the greater San Francisco Bay Area. In fact, it was down in Los Gatos, which is about an hour from me in San Francisco, but only about 15 minutes outside of San Jose. So if any of my listeners here in the San Francisco Bay Area who own Cybertrucks want to go try it out, well, run your battery down and head to the Los Gatos supercharger, the one with the V4 cabinets, or I should say the V4 stalls, and check it out. So the question is really just, when will more of these so-called V3 Plus stations in the US get deployed? Because it's, as we all know, there are very, very few of these V3 Plus stalls out in the world. It's still the mostly V3s, and even, there's still plenty of V2s out there as well. But this is awesome to see, awesome to get confirmation that faster supercharging for the Cybertruck is out there in the real world, even if it's only on a trial basis for now. More good news to start the podcast in the form of a quick follow-up from last week when I talked about the updated August timeline for full self-driving on the Cybertruck. Now, this is only anecdotal evidence, I acknowledge, what I'm about to tell you, but I do believe it is a clear, tangible sign of progress nevertheless. Tesla ADAS, Advanced Driver Assistance Systems, were spotted in Cybertrucks down in Florida doing the famous Chuck's unprotected left turn, made famous by Tesla owner, airline pilot, and FSD enthusiast Chuck Cook, who I can also say in real life is a super nice. I mean, he's nice on X as well. Super nice guy in real life. I've met him at a couple of events. But anyway, now Chuck knows that these Cybertrucks are Tesla employees testing his unprotected left turn because they're driving Cybertrucks with manufacturer license plates from Texas. And remember, he's down in Florida. So that's pretty solid evidence. Anyway, it is great to see that the Autopilot team is out there doing validation with the Cybertruck specifically, which means, hopefully, fingers crossed, the August timeframe holds for full self-driving to hit the Cybertruck fleet, so that those of you who have a Foundation Series Cybertruck now, you have already paid a premium for your Foundation Series, and I would love to see you get what you paid for as soon as possible. Continuing with our appetizers here, a couple more Cybertruck updates this week. First, reservation holders of Cybertruck in Canada and Mexico can now order their Foundation Series Cybertruck. Shout out to Will Stedman, longtime Patreon backer. He always joins in on our monthly Patreon Zoom calls. We just talked about this on last weekend's Patreon Zoom call for the month of August. And I was asking him, I said, well, Will, at this point, with Foundation Series just about over, would you order a Foundation Series if you got the opportunity, or would you just wait for general production? Because he says he's got an early reservation. And I won't get into the whole story, but he wants it now. He wants it ASAP. So, Will, this should be good news for you, my friend, and hopefully a lot of other Canadian listeners down in Mexico as well, who are waiting and ready to buy a Foundation Series Cybertruck. You can now do that. You know, I imagine that the total number of reservations in America's two nearest neighbors are probably cumulatively, low enough. The Tesla just decided to invite them all in one fell swoop, since by now they meaning Tesla, have a pretty good idea of what the take rate is on the Foundation Series now that we're nearing the end of it. So again, if you're in Canada or Mexico and have a Cybertruck reservation, you should have received an email already, but if not, you can try logging into your Tesla account and click on your Cybertruck reservation, and odds are you'll see a button where you'll be able to start designing your truck and ordering it, if indeed you want to. On that note, the second Cybertruck update here in this little block that I have to tell you about is that the reservation list in the United States, the Cybertruck reservation list, appears to have been completely gone through with regard to Foundation Series. Why do I say that? Well, it's not just that Canada and Mexico are now invited to configure and order a Foundation Series. It's that Tesla is now allowing anyone in the US to purchase a Foundation Series Cybertruck. No reservation is needed. You do not need a reservation any longer. If you're curious on the delivery estimates of these, if you just log in and order a Foundation Series, well, it's quite soon. Tesla can get you a dual motor Foundation Series Cybertruck pretty close to immediately. The delivery window, at least when I click into it, I don't know if it would be different if you're logging in from a different area and Tesla, has a cookie that can see that. But from here in the San Francisco Bay Area, which of course is not where the Cybertruck's made, so it's not like I'm next to the factory like I am with the other cars, August to September is the delivery window for the dual motor Foundation Series Cybertruck. The Cyber Beast is showing Q4, October to December. So if that is of interest, if you don't have a reservation, you can just jump in if that is indeed what your heart is telling you it wants to do. So it would seem that Tesla has now pretty much run out of people willing to pay six figures for the Cybertruck. There have been 25,000-ish people that have done so, and so we're coming to the end of that group of people. And as such, the Foundation Series clearly now on its last legs. Tesla's trying to wring every last drop out of Foundation Series before they finally start general production. With no doubt they're doing this, by the way, because as we found out at the very recent earnings call, the Cybertruck won't be made at a profit until the end of the year. So Tesla's trying to minimize the financial pain per truck as they ramp production up and get costs down. The dry cathode Cybertruck batteries, the 4680s, that Tesla's just starting to get into production, should help a lot towards reaching that profitability goal for every Cybertruck. And given where Tesla is on VIN assignments, because I keep an eye on that in the Tesla community, in the Cybertruck community specifically, as I was mentioning a moment ago, it looks like the total number of Foundation Series trucks, when Foundation Series ends, it's going to end up being somewhere around 25 to 30,000, which is going to end up accounting for most of the first model year of production. Maybe all, depending on how Tesla wants to play this, but probably most, maybe not quite all. I had always been predicting this whole time that Foundation Series was going to be the entire first year. Looks like it's going to be close. So another random question I have that doesn't matter at all, but as somebody that's interested in this stuff, I will be eager to find out. I wonder if the general production Cybertrucks are going to start over with VIN 001 and go up from there, or if Tesla's just going to keep going. Like if the first general production Cybertruck is going to be 28,322 or, whatever, wherever they leave off with Foundation Series. So that'll be another interesting little thing that I'll be curious of, because if they start over and go with VIN 1, then first of all, somebody listening to this might get VIN number 1. It could happen. Or in the first 10. You never know. They might not all go to Tesla employees because Elon and France, they got their Foundation Series trucks. Elon presumably has VIN 1. He's actually, to my knowledge, never confirmed that. But we know for sure that Franz has VIN number 2, VIN 2. So presumably Elon's got VIN 1. But anyway, if they do start over with VIN 1 on general production, then I stand a decent chance to get a fairly low VIN, which, I don't know, would be kind of fun, just in the grand scheme of history. I mean, my Model 3 Performance, it's one of the first Performance 3s, but you'd never really know it from looking at the VIN unless you're so far down the rabbit hole like I am that you'd know. Oh, okay, yeah, it was the 55,000 series where production began on the Model 3 Performance, so the initial run of Model 3 Performance is a 55,000 series VIN. So we'll see what happens with Cybertruck. Anyway, speaking of general production, I'm now going to narrow in my previous prediction. So, given that everything I just told you went into effect on August 8th, the Canada-Mexico thing, the anybody in the US, no reservation needed, can order a Cybertruck Foundation Series, all of that went into effect on August 8th, so pretty early in the month, and, worth noting, almost the exact midpoint of Q3. So, I say that to mean there's still a long way to go in this quarter. Therefore, I think general production is going to start in September, though I'm not willing to go so far as to say that the first general production deliveries will happen in September, which September, of course, will be when Q3 ends. But since Tesla's next earnings call, their Q3 earnings call, won't be until, if history holds, the third week of October, general production deliveries will have probably started by the time Tesla has its Q3 earnings call. And so Tesla will be able to highlight that, trumpet that, be proud of that, and really put that out there as a positive to their shareholders on the earnings call and in the shareholder letter. All right. I hope all of you in the ludicrous tier of my Patreon, that's those of you kind enough to support me on Patreon at the $10 per month tier or higher, I hope all of you enjoyed this week's Lightning Round mini episode, which was inspired by one of the topics on this week's podcast. When I talked earlier at the top of the show about Quicksilver Model 3s and how the 2018 silver metallic Model 3 Performance was a pretty rare car in the grand scheme of things, well, this week's Lightning Round mini episode, exclusively for Patreon backers at that $10 tier or higher, was about the top 9 Tesla unicorns in the company's history, or at least the top 9 that I could think of. So if you're interested in hearing that, if you're already backing me at the appropriate tier on Patreon, just click in and go listen to that. If this inspires you to say, you know what, yeah, I'd like to hear that and the other 106 Lightning Round mini episodes that are up there, because if you do join the Patreon at any time at that $10 per month tier or higher, you get access to the entire vault of stuff. And like I said, there's now 107 total Lightning Rounds up there. So you can go to my Patreon page found at patreon.com/Tesla podcast and just sign up there at whichever tier you feel most like supporting at. Again, it'll be that ludicrous tier, the $10 per month tier, that'll get you not just those weekly Lightning Round mini episodes, but also early access to each week's podcast as well. So again, if you feel it in your heart that the time has come, you're willing to support me on Patreon, I would be humbled and grateful if you'd consider it. The website, again, is patreon.com/Tesla podcast. And if you'd prefer to just pledge once for an entire year of support, you can do that, and choosing the annual pledge, you'll get a 10% discount for doing that. Patreon also has a free 7-day trial, and that's specific to that $10 per month tier. So if you'd like to just try out, see what it's like being a backer on Patreon, you don't actually have to put any money down. You can sign up for that free 7-day trial. We move to the meat of the news for this week's Ride the Lightning, although everything I just went through was some good stuff as well. Some interesting news for the Model S and X this week, and that is a new software bundle option that's being offered. So if you select this when you're purchasing your Model S or Model X, you'll see it under Autopilot. It's called the 3-year bundle. You will get 3 years of the following 3 things: free supercharging, FSD supervised, and premium connectivity. The cost for this, $5,000. And I've been staring at this for the last couple days, and here's the conclusion that I came to. I suppose this makes sense if you don't plan to keep your car for more than about 3 years, and or if you plan to do a lot of road trips and use FSD supervised on a regular basis. Otherwise, I'm honestly not so sure, though I will say, as ever, I'm open to being convinced if somebody out there wants to call in or email me to make a case for this. Why do I say this? Well, I say that because if you just do the math, which again, I'm a journalism major, math is not my strong suit, but here goes. 3 years of FSD supervised at the $100 per month price is $3,600. 3 years of premium connectivity is $300, since you can pay by the year on premium connectivity and you get a slight discount, $100 a year, instead of the $120 a year if you're just going month to month. And that means the remaining $1,100 is for the unlimited supercharging, which puts the per year price on your unlimited supercharging at $367 per year. That would be quite a bit of road tripping every single year of those 3 years. So I'm having trouble seeing who this is going to appeal to. Again, unless you're only keeping the car for a short time, then maybe it makes a lot of sense. But that said, I do genuinely like seeing Tesla offer this software bundle as an option. In fact, I just remembered, I think one of the shareholder questions to Elon back at the shareholder meeting was about this very thing. I think the gentleman had suggested, hey, have you ever considered bundling the software together? So, hey, kudos to that guy for putting the idea in Tesla's head, and I wonder if that gentleman will take advantage of it if he purchases a new S or X anytime soon. Next up this week, the rental car company Hertz is really trying to get out of the Tesla business, it seems, as they have revealed another offloading plan. The company is trying to move on from a very, very big purchase that it made from Tesla just a few years ago. I saw this written up on Drive Tesla Canada, who writes, when Hertz revealed it was buying 100,000 electric cars from Tesla, the latter company's market cap soared to $1 trillion. However, the car rental company soon realized the unique issue of holding onto a large inventory of EVs. As Tesla continued to implement price cuts to attract more buyers, Hertz took a beating as its cars depreciated faster than expected, eating into its financials. The EV deal, billed as historic, led to the ouster of then-CEO Stephen Scher. Hertz recorded a jump in depreciation by more than $500 million in Q1 of 2024. Hertz's initial plan was to see Tesla go for as low as $20,000. However, this was not enough to stop the losses, making Hertz go in even harder. It is stated that it will add tens of thousands of Teslas to its virtual online chopping block, if you will. Those are their words, not mine. This will hopefully reduce per unit depreciation to $300 monthly from a high of $600 per month reported in Q2 of 2025. Hertz hopes to complete the fire sale by the end of next year. Well, you hate to see it end this way, and because really in a weird, totally non-malicious way, and pardon me if I've already said this when talking about the Hertz deal in the past, Tesla took Hertz's billions of dollars and then kind of accidentally torpedoed Hertz's deal by aggressively lowering the prices of the Model 3 and especially the Model Y. I mean, granted, all four cars have seen notable price drops over the last few years, but the 3 and the Y are what's in Hertz's fleet, not the S and the X. And you know, in hindsight, it's pretty easy for me to sit back and go, oh yeah, I'm not surprised that happened at all, because Tesla has been on a never-ending mission to keep driving down prices on their cars to make them more affordable. Elon Musk talks about that on almost every earnings call, about making the cars more affordable. Now, I know that the dollars and cents are all that matters in a decision like this for a for-profit company like Hertz, but I'd be curious to dig a little deeper with them if I could. I can't, but I would like to, because I'd like to know if educating customers on electric vehicles, if that was a roadblock in their grand experiment at all, if refueling the cars quickly and doing so on site after a customer returned the car, if that was an issue at all. Basically, I'd like to know about some of the behind the curtain stuff at Hertz rather than just the surface level part, the depreciation on the cars. I mean, EVs are going to take over. I think pretty much all of us listening to this podcast agree with that. EVs are going to take over, and so inevitably that is going to have to include car rental businesses and fleets. So maybe history will end up showing that that Hertz was just a little too early to the party, because eventually all of these car rental companies are going to be stocked with EVs, whether they're Teslas or something else. And I know there's typically a stigma around buying a used car from a rental car company, because those cars are not really known for being well cared for by either customers or even necessarily the companies themselves, the fleet companies. But we all know that EVs are a really different beast, and it's honestly, it's kind of tough to abuse them in the drivetrain sense unless you charge them improperly, which is something that's really, really tough to do on an LFP battery Model 3, which a lot of the Hertz fleet is and was. In fact, when I rented a Model 3 to drive down to the Jersey Shore from Newark Airport about a year ago, last summer, I got an LFP battery Model 3. So I made this question the subject of this week's Patreon poll. And again, you don't have to be supporting me on Patreon to vote in the poll. The poll's open to everybody, so I just encourage you to stop by once a week. Usually the poll goes up on Tuesday evenings. Stop by. Again, the website is patreon.com/Tesla podcast. And every Tuesday evening, typically, you will see the new poll question. And this week it was, would you ever consider buying a used Tesla from a car rental company? 40% of you said yes, but only if the price is right and I could inspect the car in person first. I wrote that option because that's kind of how I feel personally. Because then there was a similar option that 10% of you chose, which is basically the same thing, but you didn't care so much about the in-person inspection. 10% of you said, yes, if the price is right, I'd consider it. 39%, so almost neck and neck with the yes, if the price is right and I could inspect it first. 39% of you said, no, I don't trust what renters might have done to the car and or trust the rental car company to give me an honest assessment of the car. So pretty evenly split here, because 9% of you went with maybe, but I'd have to be convinced some way or another. And that's it. 2% of you said other / just show me the results. Lots of votes in this one this week. And again, I thought these were pretty interesting results. I probably would have been in that yes, but only if the price is right and I could inspect the car. Because, you really can't trash the engine. It's not like you can romp on the car and it's really going to harm it at all. Of course, that's not going to be the case in an EV. So thanks to everybody that stopped by the Patreon page and took the time to vote. Before I continue with the rest of this week's news, and there is some more news to cover, I want to mention a couple friends of the podcast that I hope will be of interest to you in the near-term future, especially this next one. I've been talking about them for the last month or so, and that is the Tesla Raffle from Chesed, Chicago. The clock is winding down on this. They reached out to me this week to say, hey, please let everybody know that this is almost over. So I've told you every week how they're capping ticket sales at $9,999 to ensure that you have a half-decent chance of winning. And I'll get to the prizes in a second. But the date is coming up too. Now, if they hit 9,999 tickets, it'll close. Or the actual closing date is coming up in just under a month. It's coming up in very early September. So you're running out of time here to jump in on this. And I do have a promo code for you for a little discount off your tickets. But just to tell you real quick again what it is, the Chesed Chicago Raffle, it's the 9th annual, I've got that wrong, 10th annual Tesla Raffle. And you can choose, should you win, You can choose from any of the 5 Teslas. Yes, you can choose a Cybertruck. Or you can choose $50,000 cash. Whichever way you want to go, it's a sweet prize, no matter which way you slice it. The proceeds from the raffle once again go to helping a great cause, the aforementioned Chesed Chicago, a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping families in crisis. They're funding over 80 programs and services right now with an ultimate goal of helping families get back on their feet by offering goods and services like food, like furniture, job placement, navigating government funding, and much more. Here's the discount part. For your chance to win, head to ccraffle.com where you can get $25 off of 2 tickets by using the promo code RTL. Again, that ticket limit is coming up soon, $9,999, as is the calendar cutoff, whichever comes first. So get your tickets today, ccraffle.com, ccraffle.com, where you can get, with that promo code RTL, $25 off of 2 tickets, or if you really want to up your chances, $500 off of 15 tickets. Promo code RTL, ccraffle.com. Also this week, Accelerate Auto and their X-Care extended warranty package. I've got one on mine. It has served me well a couple times. Hopefully I won't need it, but it's there if anything happens. And if that sounds good to you, head on over to their website, which is accelerateauto.com. Let me spell it because it's spelled a little funky. XCELERATEAUTO.com/Xcare, which is spelled XCARE. That's the website to go to, and you can configure a plan that works for you from an extra 2 years. Maybe you want to do extra 3 years. Maybe you want to do an extra 10 years. Extra 25,000 miles of coverage, 40,000 miles of coverage, 50, 75. How about 125,000 extra miles? You can do any of that with the X-Care plan. They also have the $100 deductible, same as Tesla's extended plan, and 24/7 roadside assistance, but they also offer a couple things Tesla doesn't with their extended warranty plan, like rental reimbursement and trip interruption coverage. So again, accelerateauto.com/Xcare, XCELERATEAUTO.com/XCARE. And don't forget the discount code LIGHTNING for $100 off your purchase. Okay, let's get back to the news. There is more to go. Unfortunately, there is some we've been having some fun so far this week, as I always like to, but this next story is, it's tragic. That's the word for it. It is absolutely tragic, but I feel like it is worth mentioning to you here because it's notable in the Tesla space. We know how safe Teslas are. If you've listened to this, if you've read up on Tesla safety, you know. But we all also know that no car can prevent fatalities entirely. And unfortunately, this week I am saddened to pass along news of what appears to be the first fatal crash in a Cybertruck. I will let Houston station KHOU 11 News tell you the story from their report.
Texas DPS is investigating what could be the first deadly crash involving Tesla's Cybertruck.
The fiery wreck happened early this morning in the Baytown area on Fisher Road near Cedar Parkway. Troy Class has spent the day working the phones trying to find out more information. He's live in the newsroom. What were you able to find out?
Well, according to DPS troopers, the Cybertruck left the road and struck a large concrete culvert before bursting into flames. Now, one automotive expert I spoke with today believes this may be, in fact, the first fatal crash involving Tesla's newest vehicle. Now, it may be some time before we learn exactly what happened because the fire burned so hot it scorched the vehicle's VIN number from the metal frame and left its driver unidentifiable. And you can see there some of the charred wreckage of the truck's telltale pale stainless steel body. Now, the National Transportation Safety Board has previously published reports saying that fires in EVs with lithium-ion batteries can pose a risk to first responders. Damaged power cells can lead to an uncontrolled increase in temperature and pressure, often called thermal runaway, creating those dramatic fires. Now, today, I spoke with David Tracy, an automotive industry reporter who focuses on electric vehicles. He says these types of fires need to also be handled differently by first responders.
My sincerest condolences to the family of whoever was in that vehicle. From a flammability standpoint, EVs are not a significantly more likely, type of vehicle to catch fire. Now, with that said, the way that electric vehicles combust is different.
At this time, it's not clear what exactly led up to the crash. The NTSB, which has investigated Tesla crashes in the past, says it has not yet look into this wreck. Meanwhile, another federal agency, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, says it's aware of the crash and fire and is getting additional information from Tesla tonight. And the Cybertruck has been the subject of 4 recalls since it went on sale last November. We've reached out to Austin-based Tesla for comment, and we're waiting to hear back. In the newsroom, Troy Kless, KHOU 11 News.
We'll see where the investigation goes from here. Troy Kless, this afternoon, thank you.
Unfortunately, we don't yet know really anything about this. We don't know what the cause was in any way, shape, or form. But we do know that the bottom of any Tesla is armored. That battery pack is protected, but it's not invulnerable. And if that battery pack is pierced, that can lead to a fire. Though, as you heard from the expert that the local news team brought on, and as you already know as savvy Tesla enthusiasts, EVs, while they can catch fire, they catch fire at a rate exponentially lower, or I guess to use a phrase that Elon likes, orders of magnitude less often than a gasoline-powered car. Well, regardless here, as we wait for more information on this, I wish all the best to the family of that driver. I mean, we don't even publicly know who it is. Obviously, the police, I'm sure, have probably done their work there. But the most important aspect of this, absolutely, of course, is the tragic loss of life. But as a very secondary piece of this, way down the list, I can't help but unfortunately expect that this is now going to be used to paint all Cybertrucks as unsafe by the fudsters out there, because as we all know, Tesla gets all the headlines for good and for bad, although sadly, it sure seems like the unfair FUD outweighs the good press that Tesla gets, especially these days. But I will certainly continue to follow this story and come back with any follow-ups, because the circumstances behind this are certainly of interest to the Tesla community. I mean, I'm curious what happened that caused the Cybertruck to not just catch fire, but to do so in a way that unfortunately caused a loss of life. So we'll see what we learn here in the coming days and weeks. In much better news, this week, Tesla has successfully launched its first fully electric Giga train in Germany. Saw this one on Drive Tesla Canada as well. Tip of the cap to them. They write, this rail service, which began operations earlier this week, is designed to transport employees to Tesla's Gigafactory Berlin, providing an eco-friendly commute that aligns with the company's mission to accelerate the global transition to renewable energy. The Giga train, operated by Niederbarnimer Eisenbahngesellschaft. There we go. I had to channel my high school German classes there. I think I got through that okay. Anyway, heretofore known as the NEB for an easier acronym on my American brain. The NEB is the Giga train operated by the NEB is the first fully electric battery-powered train in the Berlin and Brandenburg regions. The new train will initially serve the route between Erkner and Tesla's Gigafactory in Grünheide, a journey that is now accessible free of charge to all passengers, including non-Tesla employees. Each of the Giga train's carriages can accommodate 120 passengers, And with 2 carriages attached per trip, the train can transport up to 500 people per journey. The design includes features such as bicycle compartments, ground-level access, and a state-of-the-art passenger information system, making it a convenient and modern option for commuters. The Giga train is expected to significantly ease traffic congestion in the Berlin-Brandenburg area, while offering a more sustainable alternative to traditional diesel-powered trains. Teresa Egler, a project manager at Tesla, expressed her enthusiasm for the new electric shuttle, telling the German publication RBB24, quote, "We are particularly pleased that the Tesla train shuttle is now battery electric because it is simply in line with our company mission to accelerate the transition to renewable energies," end quote. According to Egler, the shift to battery-powered trains will save an estimated 50 tons of CO2 emissions per week, a substantial reduction that underscores Tesla's dedication to environmental stewardship. Yes, the Giga train is now open for business. I absolutely love this. This is awesome. And what I love about it is that it's Tesla investing in both their employees, which is super important, makes their commute easier and cheaper, it's free, and it's Tesla investing in the Grünheide region that the Giga Berlin plant is located in. It's just so cool that this is not only free for Tesla employees, but free for everyone. That's sweet. And yet, we do, including super recently, we have these so-called environmental activists in Berlin actively trying to impede Tesla's efforts to do business and expand there. Huge sigh. Ugh. But not to dwell on that. If you're curious about the other factories, by the way, Tesla's other plants, and what they have going on that might be similar, I just ran a quick little inventory on this. So Fremont, here in my backyard, was of course inherited from GM/Toyota. And Tesla, as I talked about near the top of the podcast, has evolved it. They've expanded it about as much as they can. Fortunately, the existing Bay Area subway system, which is called BART, that stands for Bay Area Rapid Transit, BART already gets pretty close to the factory courtesy of an extension to the BART line that opened up just a few years ago. It didn't used to, but Tesla clearly has been the inspiration for BART to go ahead and expand the line a little further south in the East Bay. So it now does go all the way very close to the Fremont factory, and that's currently the end of the line, although there are supposedly plans to try and extend it all the way south, down literally around the bay, and hooking it back to San Jose to make a complete loop, a loop with Caltrain, which is another train system, rail system that just runs the length of what we call the peninsula, so San Francisco to San Jose. So it would make a loop with Caltrain someday, if it ever happens. It'd be great if it does, but for now, yes, Fremont's got the BART train nearby. Now, as for Giga Texas, you may recall that Tesla was planning to develop the area at the factory grounds that are adjacent to the river into a public riverwalk. And I hope those plans are still in place, but I haven't heard anything about that project in quite a long time. I think that this would be a very good question to try and get upvoted for the next quarterly earnings call that'll be coming up in October. So if any of you out there like to submit questions through the, say.com, right? Through the Say portal, that would be one that I would recommend. Hey, what's going on with the Riverwalk project, the public park project at Giga Texas? And then finally, I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure if Giga Shanghai has anything similar to any of these projects that I've just talked about. But regardless, it is great to see that the mutual benefit here when Tesla invests in the regions that it's got factories in, and vice versa, because the regions are offering Tesla tax breaks and other incentives to try to get Tesla to set up shop there in the first place. It's nice to see Tesla repay that investment back to the region, back to the area it's in. And I'll close this week's news block by saying, I hope I get to ride the Giga train someday. I do adore Germany. It's been actually 11 years since I've been back at this point. It is an absolutely spectacular country, and Berlin is a beautiful city. So there you go. Lots and lots to talk about in the world of Tesla news this week. But Ride the Lightning is by no means over yet. Stay tuned. I will be right back with a few of your Ride the Lightning hotline phone calls coming up next.
Hi, this is Franz von Holzhausen, and you're listening to Ride the Lightning with Ryan McCaffrey, the Tesla unofficial podcast.
Time for your phone calls in the Ride the Lightning hotline. If you've got a Tesla question, comment, or discussion topic and you'd like a chance to be featured on the podcast, I'd love for you to call in. There are two easy ways to do that. Either use your smartphone's built-in voice recording software, record your question. Please try to keep it to 90 seconds or less so that I can get to as many people each week as possible. And email that file to me at teslapodcast@gmail.com. Alternatively, you can just call in and leave a message on the Ride the Lightning hotline if you like as well. It's a toll-free number you can call anytime. The number is 1-888-989-8752. Again, that's 1-888-989-TSLA. And if you know someone special out there with an upcoming birthday, anniversary, graduation, or some other special occasion, you can give them a unique gift of recorded voices from friends and family telling them why they're special. The recordings can be podcasted or put onto a keepsake. Visit lifeonrecord.com to learn more. We kick it off here this week with Gil from San Diego.
Hey Ryan, Gil from San Diego. Hope this message finds you well. Wanted to just do a quick comment on Cybertrucks. I think I texted you this as well. I don't know if you've noticed this, but at least around us in Southern California and San Diego, it seems like most of the Cybertrucks are wrapped. I'm kind of surprised at the number of people that aren't letting the just natural metal be out, given that that's one of the big draws of the truck. So I'm curious if you've had a similar experience and what others have seen around there where they live. Thanks a lot.
Great to hear from you, Gil. Now that you make me think about it, I would say a decent number of the Cybertrucks I've seen in my area so far are wrapped. I'm not sure I'd be willing to put a percentage on it, but if I had to guess, I'd say it's maybe upwards of around half, maybe not quite half, but at least 1 out of every 3 for sure at this stage of the game. And I suspect that the biggest factor here is that the people that can afford to pay the $20,000 premium for the Foundation Series, thus meaning they're dropping 6 figures for their truck, can happily spend another $5,000 or so to get a good wrap on it without really batting an eyelash. I think once general production starts here pretty soon, the Cybertruck, granted, still isn't cheap, but I would have to wager that the percentage of them that are wrapped will go down as an overall fleet number as the price of the truck goes down. I mean, I wish I could statistically track and either prove or disprove this, but I suppose it'll just have to remain a hypothesis for now. Thank you for your call, Gil. Next up, here's Bill from Wisconsin.
Hey, Ryan, it's Bill from Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. I was just listening to your coverage of the earnings call and wanted to chime in on your comments regarding Elon's statement that losing the tax credit would only hurt Tesla a little. I agree that it would hurt the competitors more than it would hurt Tesla, but I will tell you firsthand, I'm taking delivery of a 2024 Model 3 long-range rear-wheel drive on this coming Friday, and the only reason why we decided to do it now is because of 2 things: the tax credit, the full $500, and FSD, being able to transfer FSD. We have, as you may recall, we have a Cybertruck on order. We're not expecting to get that for at least another 6 months, if not a year. And, my 2018 mid-range has been a great car. Model 3 mid-range has been a great car, but it's 6 years old almost. And this fit in our budget because of those factors. So Just wanted to add that to the conversation. Have a great one.
Thank you, Bill. You know, I forgot that you had a mid-range Model 3. You've emailed me about that before. That's interesting stuff, because that, I think, definitely counts as I was talking about earlier in the podcast a couple times, that's a unicorn Tesla. I left it off my list. I'm realizing now, the lightning round, I should have had that on there, the mid-range Model 3s. So there were not very many of those made. Now, for those of you that don't know, the mid-range Model 3 was available at the end of 2018 for a pretty short time, as Tesla was doing its best to get a cheaper Model 3 out the door onto the market before they were able to build the standard range Model 3 in the, I think, spring, like March or so of 2019, if memory serves correctly. So I should have definitely added that into my lightning round this week. So thank you, Bill, for already adding one to my list if I were to ever revise that and do another version of it and update it. Anyway, Bill, I appreciate your perspective here. I mean, it's simply undeniable that having $7,500 off the car, right off the lot, like right off the top price, that's an undeniable needle mover for most buyers. I mean, there's no need for me to restate my point from a couple episodes ago, so I'll just say again that I hope that no matter how the political environment goes in the next 6 to 9 months, I hope that the Inflation Reduction Act and the tax credit for EVs are left intact. I've got time for one more call on this week's podcast. It comes from Dave in Northeast Tennessee.
Good day, Ryan. Dave here from Northeast Tennessee, and thank you for all you do for Tesla and the community. You must be Tesla's #1 fan. Anyways, got a new Tesla Model 3 Highland, and I'm slightly disappointed in that they seem to have neutered the rear entertainment screen. Overall, the Lightning's a huge improvement, but I don't understand why the 2 USB ports below the rear screen seem to be power only. I've tried USB-C headphones, I've tried USB-C controllers, none of which are recognized or seem to be used. So you have to have Bluetooth paired, which, you know, I was hoping to keep a pair of USB-C headphones in the back seat for the grandchild so he could listen to his Netflix and YouTube. But now that means I got to have headphones that I got to keep charged and paired, which seems to be a lot more of a hassle than just a simple USB-C plug-in. Do you think that'll ever change, or am I doing something wrong? Because you would think with those USB-C ports there, you should be able to use them for headphones. Thank you, and you have a great day.
Hi, Dave. Well, you've made a perfectly reasonable request here. Unfortunately, I have an older Model 3, so I can't go fiddle with my own car in the garage to try and get to the bottom of this for you. And thus, I would love any assistance from your fellow listeners on this one, and or from Tesla employees themselves. If any of you wanted to message me, I will certainly keep you anonymous in order to try and help out Dave and anybody else that might be wondering about this as well. If indeed it's power only and not data, hopefully that's something that can be resolved with an over-the-air software update. I admit, I don't know, maybe it's not, but if it can be, that'd be amazing. Because if you've been listening to the podcast for a while and or following the goings-on in the Tesla community for a while, you may recall that the Bluetooth functionality for the back seat in the New S and New X was promised from the get-go, but wasn't actually delivered until a good bit later via an over-the-air software update. I understand that USB is not the same as Bluetooth, I get that, but fingers crossed that the same over-the-air update might rescue us on this one. I hope you're enjoying your new Model 3 otherwise, Dave, and thank you for your call. That will do it for this week's Ride the Lightning Hotline. Again, if you've got a Tesla question, comment, or discussion topic, I'd love to hear from you. Dial in. I gave you the 2 easy ways to call in at the top of this segment, so refer back to that, and we'll do this again next week. Before I get out of here, I'll tell you about what I've been up to in my car, which, well, honestly, not much this week. Just some regular back and forth. I've been annoyed this week by what seems like a return. Well, maybe not. How do I want to phrase this? The windshield wipers that just like to go off when they shouldn't go off. It seemed like it had gotten better, still not like completely resolved by any stretch, but they've been annoying again this week, including today. And now I've got to go. Car's totally clean. I got to go down and clean the windshield because it just drags. It just causes a like gross haze on the glass when it's just dragging across dry windshield. But anyway, that's what's been going on with me in my car this week. As I mentioned at the top of the podcast, I did get to see my friend Tesla Tino, owner of the highest mileage Cybertruck in the world. Well, he was in San Francisco. And my friend Ryan from the Kilowatts as well. Got to see, we all hung out together. And courtesy of Ryan from the Kilowatts, I finally tried Tesla tequila since I refused to open mine. I'm leaving mine sealed. I have to say, it had a burn to it. I'm just not a tequila guy, so I can't really tell you even if it was good or not, but at least now I can say I've tried the Tesla tequila, so thank you, Ryan, for that. Next up is a pro tip of the week. It's from Scott in Pennsylvania.
Hi, Ryan. This is Scott from Pennsylvania. Thank you for all the great information I've learned about Tesla from your podcast. And as a result, I'm now the very happy owner of a Model Y. So I wanted to share a pro tip of the week combined with a feature request, if that's okay. Most people, I think, probably know that they can schedule a departure, but I recently learned that this is location-based. For instance, I can set the car to prepare for departure at 8 a.m. when I'm at home and at 5 p.m. when I'm at work, and it will save both of those schedules and won't warm up at those times if I'm at a different location. I'm not sure if you can set more than 2 location-based schedules, but it's certainly been a useful feature for me. So that brings me to my feature request. Currently, we have the option to choose weekdays or all week for those schedules. Some of us, however, especially since COVID, may not work a traditional 5-day work week and therefore don't want the car preconditioning and wasting energy if we're not working that particular day. So I would like the option to set departure times for specific days of the week, and maybe to have an option to turn off scheduled departure just once without erasing the entire schedule. Seems like it should be possible, and I think it would fit Tesla's goal of being as efficient as possible with energy usage. So thanks again, and keep up the great work.
Scott, thank you for your call and the beautiful sunset in the snow picture that you sent me of your Model Y along with your call. I did not know about the location-aware scheduled departure feature, so that's great to learn about. Thank you. And your feature request related to that certainly makes a lot of sense, particularly because, as you noted, a lot of people aren't on a regular Monday through Friday commuting schedule anymore. So great stuff, Scott. Appreciate that call. If anybody else out there has a good Tesla pro tip of the week that you'd like to share with me and your fellow Tesla owners and enthusiasts, I welcome and encourage you to send it in. You can do so the same way that you send in the regular Ride the Lightning hotline calls, and I gave you the instructions for that a few minutes ago. Before I go on this week's episode, I want to mention some friends of Ride the Lightning that hopefully can be of use to you sooner or later. I'll start with AbstractOcean.com, who I am confident can be useful to all of you. Again, sooner or later, maybe both, because they have so many great aftermarket Tesla accessories that you've got to at least go there and take a look. Go to AbstractOcean.com, click on whichever Tesla you own on the top nav bar, and it will show you every aftermarket part, accessory that they've got for your Tesla. Whether it's the rear footwell lighting kit, which I definitely recommend for Model Y owners, whether it's the very popular 4th generation tempered glass custom done screen protector for any of, I don't know if they have one for Cybertruck yet. I'll have to take a look another time. I'm not gonna bog down the podcast by logging on the website right now, but check them out. AbstractOcean.com. So many great accessories, a lot of lighting kits, internal and external, just a lot of great stuff. You're going to want to take a look. And if you do find some stuff you like, throw it in your online shopping cart. And when you get to checkout, use the coupon code RTL Podcast to get 15% off of your first order. That coupon code again is RTL Podcast. That's all one word, no spaces. Meanwhile, the Snap Plate, as well as the new Snap Plate Plus, which is the stronger version, available for Model 3, Model Y, Model X, and Model S. Get yours at everyamp.com/RTL. And there's a discount code on top of that. Enter the coupon code RTL for a nice little discount there. And if you're not familiar, the Snap Plate and newer Snap Plate Plus, that is a front license plate bracket that snaps on and off in seconds, but when it's on there, it's on securely. It's paint safe, grill safe, radiator safe, autopilot safe. The front license plate bracket that Tesla gives you with your car cannot claim those things. It's grill safe, it's radiator safe, autopilot safe, but it's not paint safe because it goes on with automotive tape adhesive. The Snap Plate does not do that. It's a nice floating design, hooks on underneath the car. Again, really looks good. You can barely tell that any sort of frame is there, which I like. So whether you're removing the plate for car shows or putting it on to avoid tickets while you're parked at a parking meter, or you're removing it to clean the car at home, detailing before a Cars and Coffee or something like that, putting it on for a toll road or a bridge, something like that, just give it a try. If you want or need, by law, a front license plate, give the Snap Plate a try. Again, go to everyamp.com/RTL and use the coupon code RTL for a discount. How about Budget Safe Solar? You can visit them at budgetsafesolar.com. If you are interested in adding solar panels to your home or business or both, I've got them on my roof. I've been very, very happy. And now Budget Safe Solar installs Tesla Powerwalls along with the solar panels, so you can get the entire kit. You can get the whole closed loop of clean energy in your home through Budget Safe Solar. I'm sure that you will check out Tesla Solar, as I did. You'll probably shop with a couple of other providers as well. I sure would. Again, no shade from me because it's a big purchase. You want to shop around to a few different folks. All I ask is that you make Budget Safe Solar one of the solar providers that you take a look at before you make your decision. And if you do go with Budget Safe Solar, all I ask is that you use the referral code RTL. How about Immaculate Reflections? If you're in or going to be in the greater San Francisco Bay Area, I highly encourage you to take any car that you care about, whether it's your Tesla or something else fun in your garage, and bring it to Immaculate Reflections. They offer a nice little discount for listeners of this podcast for any service you book with them. So visit the website, irdetailing.com, and just talk it through with Jeff. Whether you're on the phone or whether you're on email, however you're conversing. Jeff McGovern is the name of the owner there. He will happily talk you through whatever will work best for your wants, your needs, your budget. It's a delicate combination, right? You might not want to do like the whole 9 yards on everything. Maybe you do, but if you have some stuff in mind and want to keep to a budget, Jeff can help you do that, whether it's ceramic coating the car, some paint protection film on some or all the car, or paint correction to get the paint finish looking as good as it possibly can. Visit his website, get in touch, irdetailing.com. If you'd like to look him up on Yelp, it's yelp.com/Immaculate Reflections. Does anybody use Yelp anymore? I still do, but I feel like maybe I'm just an old man at this point by still using Yelp. And then Instagram, I know people still use Instagram. You can look him up on there. The username on Instagram is Immaculate_Reflections. Finally, my Patreon. That is what I mentioned earlier in the podcast. That is how you can voluntarily choose to support the podcast. So if you'd like to give back, if you feel like you get a lot out of this podcast each and every week, you know it's delivered every single Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. If you see it in your heart to support the podcast, The support tiers start at just $5 a month. And in return for that $5 a month, you will get early access to each week's episode. There's also the most popular tier, if you take one step up, the $10 per month tier. That will get you early access each week and those lightning round mini episodes that I talked about earlier in the podcast that I do every single week on Patreon. This week's was about the Tesla unicorns, one of which I've already missed. Thank you to Bill from Wisconsin for already pointing out. You weren't even trying, but you did it. The mid-range Model 3 should have been on the list, but anyway, the Patreon, if you'd like to support me there, go to patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. Patreon is spelled Patreon. If you're not already following / subscribing to this podcast on your favorite podcast service, it's free to do so, doesn't cost any money. What happens when you follow or subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast service is that you get a push notification when a new episode drops. So you don't have to remember that it's Sunday, time for a new Ride the Lightning. Your phone, your device, whatever, will notify you about that new episode. So follow me or subscribe to me on Apple Podcasts, which of course you can get in the car, on TuneIn, on Spotify, or on YouTube podcasts as well. The best way to find me, by the way, is just search Ride the Lightning Tesla Podcast. That'll be the best way. I know it's a lot to type in, but that's the way you'll for sure find me. And you can follow me on the two social media platforms that I spend time on, which are X and Instagram. I have the same username on both, and that username is DMC_Ryan. You can also email me anytime about any Tesla-related stuff you've got on your mind. My podcast email address is teslapodcast@gmail.com. Before I go, I'd like to say hello and thank you to the top-tier Patreon backers, the extra super generous folks who are really going above and beyond. They're getting, hopefully, what they feel is a lot of cool perks and bonuses in return as a thank you from me for supporting at the higher tiers. So I'll start with the maximum plaid tier. These are the folks that they get invited every single month to the monthly Patreon Zoom hangout. And those folks are Jonathan Wales, Cameron Clark, Daniel Grummer, Seth Capello, Nick and Tony, the Galpin family, Ryan from New York City, Darren Nickel, Kaz Barnes, Brett Libano, Patrick Wisniewski, Gil Cabrera, Todd Badger, Joe Edgel, Kevin Yank, the Tesla Owners Club of San Joaquin Valley, Michael Williams, Will Stedman, Justin Perez, Jeremy Harris, Chris Beach, Tom Mills, Corey O'Donnell, Aaron, John Cody, Joel Sapp, Paul Casarino, Richard Corley, Chris Osborne, KB, Adam Lavoie, ContactOneCallCenter.com, Jason Chalukas, Travis Krenzel, Bruce Otterstein, Tom Behan, Josh Pennington, John from Cream Ridge, New Jersey, Dustin Hart, Michael Gallo, Derek Finley, Charles Clement, Rav, Adam Christie, Damon Klein, and Jeff Brown. I want to thank all the folks, a number of the folks that I just mentioned, showed up to the last weekend's, this month's, Patreon Zoom Hangout for the month of August. We had an excellent conversation, as we always do. And then the Roadster in Space tier, moving on up from there, the highest tier of the Patreon. Huge thanks goes out to the Roadster in Space tier for their incredible generosity. They are Pete White, Lyle Austin, Steve Radspinner, Fernando Cordero, Lawton from Chicago, Sean Neidig, Neil Weaver, Jackson Wallace, Rolf and Jennifer Evers, Howard Anthony Smith, Victoria Iacovetto, Tesla Hitchhiker 42, Kara Weston, Robert from near Philly, Kristen Rumble, American Home Contractors, GetAmber.com, and Doug Carey. Finally, I'd like to say a hello and a thank you to the grandfathered in plaid level supporters. This tier is officially no more, but these very kind folks continue to pledge at that plaid level. so they get all the plaid perks that they should get for doing that. Thank you to George Cassiopo, Logan Willis, Peter Chalet, Eric Randolph, Dory and Steve Guberman, the Tesla Owners Club of Taiwan, Ron Lee, Charlie Gillespie, Dennis Peak, Jeff Angwin, Chase Cabanillas, the Lydia family, Aaron Altschul, Jared Brown, Jerome Strack, Jamie Dalton, Mike and Barbara from Louisville, Matt Nixon, the Tesla Owners Club of Wisconsin, Ish, not Elon Musk in quotes, Peter, and the Bear Boys of Colorado. That will bring us to the end of Ride the Lightning, episode 471. Let's just say, how do I put this politely? I'm being hotboxed by my little puppy right now. It is time to end this podcast so that I can take her outside. She's sleeping, so she's comfortable. There's no urgency going on. But let's just say I'm ready to get out of this room and get this puppy outside to take care of some business. So, on that note, for a snoozing and probably gastrointestinally ready to do some business, that would be mine of the future service dog, along with a comfortably snoozing and snoring Daisy the Boxer. My name is Ryan McCaffrey. Thank you all so much for your time, for your attention. Your time is so valuable, and that you would spend an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes, whatever it is here this week, with me, listening to this podcast, celebrating our shared enthusiasm of Tesla and their cars and what they're up to. I don't take it for granted. I do appreciate your time and your attention. So, happy electric motoring, my friends, and I'll see you back here next week.
Elon Musk, people don't like Elon Musk. The guy founded PayPal and Tesla, and people are like, yeah, but he's a troll and a bad dad. I'm like, so was mine. He did nothing to fight climate change. Also, have you been in a Tesla? Have you been in a Tesla? My buddy let me drive his Tesla. I laughed out loud at how fast it went. Been clinically depressed my entire life, on dozens of medications, in a Tesla for 13 seconds, cured forever.
I mean, I think a Tesla is the most fun thing you could possibly buy ever. That's what it's meant to be. Our goal is to make it's not exactly a car. It's actually a thing to maximize enjoyment. It's maximum fun.